With Enlightened, I mean, that's one of those shows where it's like dealing with so many serious topics, but in a way that is both painful to watch and hilarious to watch. And so, you know, it's one of those shows that could be considered a drama, but it's just so funny that it's a comedy. So and you were involved in the creation of that, so.
I think we lied. Mike White and I went into HBO and said, we've got a really hilarious show. How can we get them to do a subversive show about a whistleblower who blows up American corporations, who deals with addiction, rehab, rage? We'll tell them it's a comedy, and we'll do it as a half hour. And they were like, oh, that sounds hilarious. So I think we somehow got away with it, but it's like, I think it's pretty sad.
So
you
don't think of Enlightened as a comedy?
I mean,
are we going to have to kick you off this panel right now?
Well, kind of. I mean, I do, but I feel like I grew up doing movies that I thought were hysterically funny, like David Lynch movies. Some people don't think they're funny. So I feel like that's my kind of comedy has always been a little odd. So I think it's funny, but I don't know that it's deemed traditional in any way. But I mean, I think that's what all of these shows have in common, is that they're hilarious in their deep sadness and longing, and we're all very flawed people, and that's what's kind of beautiful about it. And so is that's something that comedy can get to in a way that drama can't, that pain, that... Very much so, and the world is so absurd right now. I don't think that we're allowed to talk about it because we're so off the deep end unless it's done in a comedic way, which is why, you know, perhaps in film as well, there's more opportunity to do it with irreverence than do it as a traditional drama. So that's cool. Do you feel that too with Veep? I mean, that's a political comedy. You're dealing very much with like sort of the insanity of very serious subjects. I mean, international politics. And do you feel like it's a way to get at, you know, things that are distressing to people in a way that... Yeah, and I think that's why we keep it nonpartisan. Mm-hmm. You'll never know what party anybody's in the show. You just know that they're, you know, I play a character who's in one party, and then there's the opposition, and it somehow levels the playing field, and invites everybody in for a good laugh, I think, and then the area is so funny. You know, I mean, just the office of the vice presidency is funny. Yes, you know, the desperate nature.
What is it exactly? We don't really know. But just to build on that.
Has he called yet?
No.
Has he ever called? Is he ever going to call? He's not. What do you
think? Joe Biden is watching your show like, what am I supposed to do? These guys they have it right. Okay, I'm just going to watch this show. But just to build on that and a little bit what Lauren was saying, I think that there is so much hypocrisy, and especially in the political process and in the media coverage and in just all around us all the time, and in our own lives and with our own relationships and the demons that we each face as people. And you know, Veep is an example, like The Daily Show or something that calls out a very public form of silliness or hypocrisy. But then a lot of these shows that touch on more dramatic personal stories can also just help us laugh at painful realities and yeah, like you said, sad things. And I think that has been part of the trend of comedies for the last few years, is a real sort of digging into trouble areas.
But isn't that sort of too, don't you think, the nature of comedy? I mean, trouble and conflict is funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I watch a show like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, which I love. And you can see in the episode what the writer's room was doing that day. It's like, what's the most offensive thing we haven't gotten into? Child molestation. Great. Whole episode about that. That's the gauntlet we're throwing down. And it's painful, weird, disconcerting subject matter, but it's so, all that tension, it makes it so funny and engaging.
It's cathartic to admit that we, as a society, have that among us, and to do it in comedy is much safer than, it's a much more painful thing to watch a gripping drama about child molestation. You're gonna have a harder time having a good time.
Having a good laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, traumatic subjects that should be hilarious.
I'm so glad I sit us down this
better in that
talk about it.
Child molestation is the topic of comedy. Well, from where I sit as a non-performer, it looks to me that as an actor, comedy is the hardest thing, because you have to do everything a dramatic actor does, which is engage the audience, create a believable character, advance the story, but you also have to make people laugh. And so my question is, so when you're thinking about your role, or when you're actually performing, I don't want to use the word process, because as a writer I have no use of the word process. How do you balance the laugh versus the creation of a real person? All of you people play people who we would recognize as real people, except for that you're much funnier than the rest of us, the characters. Not you, because apparently you just stumbled into this.
I just stumbled in. I do think that there's something really great to be said about shows that don't work too hard for laughs, to just let the situation speak for themselves. And I think all the shows that you have represented on this panel certainly do that very, very well. I think it's certainly, I find comedy scary just because what you said, you have to make people laugh. And especially when, for example, like doing comedy in theater, like if you're not hearing that response back, you're failing. Like if you're doing a drama and people are not enjoying it, you can't tell, because you're enjoying the silence, you're acting in the silence. But like with comedy, it's like it's not going well if it's not going well. And even on our set, we can tell if the cameramen are not laughing at us, like that this is, and it starts people start to get sweaty, and I start to get nervous and second guessing my career choices, and I can definitely go down a long spiral staircase after that. But it is I think comedy is very, very hard. Because you have a lot on your plate. You can't fake it. And I don't think it's something you can learn either. I think really good comedians, I think they're kind of born with that innate quality.